Hey everybody, Danny J here with the DJB Productions Network. I hope everybody's having a great day. We're going to have an even better one today with our show today, but let's make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell, leave us some comments. Of course, we're always happy to see you guys and see you guys interact with us, etc. We got a great show today. We're going to be talking about the She-Hulk episode 1 on the Disney Plus series, which was a great series. We're going to talk about that today. Before we get into that, let's see who we got on the panel. We got my man, Matt Sutter.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you're watching us.
And then we got Jason Leach.
What's going on, good people?
What's happening? What's happening? It's such a great thing. We got great show today, and I'm glad we got everybody on here. Remember, it's the DJB Productions Network. Go to djbproductionsnetwork.com. Subscribe to the channel today. Plenty of stuff on there, plenty of stuff, and we have new shows coming out as well. So once again, thank you for your support. But guys, let's get into it. She-Hulk episode 1. I don't want to say I was up in the air because the character, if you know anything about the character itself in the comic books, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek type of character. Not taken as seriously as Hulk was. A lot of times people compare the characterization, I should say, to Deadpool. She tends to break the fourth wall, that type of thing. It's very lighthearted, etc. Jen Waters, she's a lawyer. She's Bruce's cousin. She has, in the comic books, a blood transfusion after an accident from Bruce, which then gives her the gamma radiated blood, which makes her She-Hulk. Difference being, in comparison to Bruce, she can control her transformations. She always, from day one, gets to maintain her own consciousness. The only difference being is that with that gamma radiation and becoming She-Hulk, she gains more confidence. She's a little bit more of a spitfire, whereas as Jen, she's a little bit more meek, not like very, very wimpy, but
More reserved.
A little bit more reserved. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. In the episode 1, they kind of keep it somewhat, they kind of speed that up a little bit. Now, granted, everybody, spoilers if you haven't watched the episode, go on Disney Plus, watch the episode. They drop every Thursday on the channel. But spoiler alert, with this one here, we open up with Jen in her office. She's going over a speech she's going to say to the jury.
Yeah. Closing arguments.
Trial,
yeah.
Right, which she's with her paralegal and another attorney that she works with. And we're like, all right, we're getting this gist. Here's Jen, and she's a lawyer, okay? And then as they're getting ready to leave the office, she comes back in, breaks the fourth wall almost immediately, and says, basically she says, hey, let me catch you up to what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then we do like a little flashback, and she's driving with cousin Bruce, and they're driving along, he's still hurt, but he has created a device that he has on his wrist that allows him to go back to Bruce because of what he did to become Smart Hulk. He kind of like gave full control to Hulk as long as he was able to maintain his consciousness. So he created a device that allows him to transform back to Bruce without disrupting Hulk, that type of thing, etc. We then see a Shikarian, or not Shikarian, but
Sakaran
ship come down. They veer out of the way. They get in an accident. Both are bleeding. Bruce's blood from his head bleeds onto her arm. That's how she gets her blood transfusion. So they kind of did it very cleanly and without a lot of backstory, which was kind of cool. Because it got us where we had to go.
Again, you don't have to set up why does she need a blood fusion? Why is Bruce the only one that can give it to her? It becomes fully accidental and just easy way to get right into it.
So she hulks out, and I don't know if you
almost
guys,
like immediately.
Yeah, like immediately she hulks out. But I don't know if you got this gist, but and maybe I was looking into it a little bit, or this could have been as a paying homage. it reminded me of the first transformation of Bill Bixby's Hulk when he's at night and it's raining, he's changing the tire.
Oh, yes.
And he turns into the Hulk and he wants to flip the car. I mean, we're at a car accident. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw like her reflection in the window. She turned and I'm like, oh, this is like almost like that. Is she going to like do something with the car or whatever? But like they kind of, I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but that kind of reminded me immediately of Bill Bixby's
It wouldn't
first
surprise me.
transformation. They do a lot of that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they do a lot of that. We then get into later on, she wakes up and Bruce has her in a secret laboratory. We now get to see the laboratory that was set up by himself and Tony Stark, where he was able to work on himself and become Smart Hulk. So here's a nice reveal, going back to like questions that they had from Infinity War and Endgame. Like, how did you become Smart Hulk? We didn't see this type of thing, you know. And we also get this information, and I am cliff noting this a little bit because I want you guys to be able to see. There's a lot of details that we're probably not going to cover on purpose, just so you can watch the show. But he goes into basically a discussion to say, like, and this is another question that came up, like, how is it that an Incredible Hulk with what was his name before Mark Ruffalo, with Ed Norton?
Ed Norton, yeah. His
blood goes into the drink. Stan Lee's character drinks it and supposedly dies or has some kind of reaction or whatever, but it's not a Hulk. Okay, so they're like, well, how come she became a Hulk? Well, he explains that there's something embedded in their DNA which allows them to metabolize the gamma radiation and use it in comparison to other people that don't. So therefore, this is a Banner thing. You know, this is a Banner family thing that became the Hulk. This is not something that can be accidentally done by somebody else, which now, if you go back to the Bill Bixby episodes, this totally destroys the one episode where the Hulk fights the other Hulk. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I think I don't think it necessarily with the way he explained it, I don't think it's necessarily just a Banner thing, but it's a very rare genetic trait. So I think that's what he's. I don't have to go back and watch it again, but
in a way,
I think he said it was a rare genetic trait, or there's something. I don't think they just
like he owned it though. Like he said, it's a rare genetic. He did use that kind of terminology. It's a rare genetic trait that we have. So in a sense, so
yeah, but I think just kind of like, well, it's a rare genetic trait, but it's 1 out of every maybe 2 million people have it.
Right.
3 million people have it. So it's still going to be super rare, but it still leaves that door open that, there can be others, but it's going to be very few and
because
far
remember too, in the Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, his blood affects what's his name to become the leader. We see at the end when the blood's dripping down his open wound, his brain starts to evolve. That's how he becomes the leader. So once again, there's another person being affected by the gamma radiated blood, etc. We go into not a montage. Thank God it wasn't a montage. That we actually go through some great scenes of him training her, and Jen is very apprehensive about the whole thing. She does not want to be a Hulk. She is, once again, very reserved, and she's like,
he keeps telling her that, hey, you got to be a superhero. You can't do anything else but be like a superhero. And she's like, I don't want to be a superhero. I just want to be a fucking lawyer.
Yeah, I worked hard, and you kind of get this little struggle from her. Like, I had to fight to be in the position that I'm in. And now you're getting this, I'm a woman lawyer. I have to be, I want to be taken seriously, which it's 2022. Maybe I'm very new age, but like, I can't see why a female lawyer should be not taken seriously in comparison to a male lawyer. I don't understand that at all, but whatever. I mean, it is happening, and they hit that plight in there that like, that's what Jen's going through. Okay. In that sense. So she fought very hard to be heard in her law firm. And now I don't need this, right? But now what's going to happen is, and we're going to see this later on in the series, which I believe it's 9 episodes. They're going to exploit her to the highest degree of being a superhero because she's going to become a superhero lawyer. And it'd be one of those ones that, and it's going to bring a lot of, you can see it's very textbook. It's going to bring a lot of notoriety to that law firm.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring a lot of press to that law firm that we have a superhero who defends other superheroes, etc., blah, 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 and defends supervillains, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So that's kind of a cool thing. The Sakaran ship, Bruce kind of says that's like a messenger ship. I got to deal with that later. That opens up for Planet Hulk, because in the comic book of Planet Hulk, when he goes to Sakaar and he becomes a gladiator and eventually takes over the fucking planet because he's the Hulk, right? He takes a couple brides. He has a couple sons. And when his bride is killed, something happens, blah, blah, blah. He then gathers all his troops and comes back and starts World War Hulk, where he comes back to Earth and he wants to destroy everybody that had a problem with him and blah, blah, blah on Earth, with his Sakaran forces. So, but that leaves open for him to have his son, who's Scar, and that's another Hulk type individual, okay, but not one that transforms, because he was conceived while Bruce was the Hulk, in a sense. So that's kind of leaves that open for that, which is kind of cool. Whether or not they'll get into that, we don't know. But that was such a big Easter egg when he drops that line. We don't get much in the way of, other than the fact that we see that she's really taken to this a lot better than Bruce ever did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't want this, but I'm really, really good at it. And I'm even better than you at it. But I don't want this. So Bruce, it's kind of a funny thing. Bruce gets like jealous. And he says it, like, I'm getting jealous. Like, took me 14 years and it's taken you like 6 hours, to get over this, whatever.
It's like the whole thing is like, trying to help her, like, oh, well, deal with the fact that, the Hulk is a totally separate consciousness. And she's all like, well, I know. He's like, exactly. Well, shit. He's like ripping pages out of the notebook. Like, well, I guess we don't need that. I guess we don't need this.
And the fact that, and that's something that he strived for his entire time as the Hulk, is to not have two separate alter ego, to have it be what he is, Smart Hulk. And she even makes fun of the thing. She's like, it's very presumptuous.
Yeah.
To call yourself
like, I didn't come up with it.
I didn't come up with it. That's just what stuck, type of thing. But it's a lot of humor in it, which is kind of good. I'm the kind of person, when it comes to my superhero stuff, I don't necessarily want comedy, because it's gonna degrade the superhero part of it for me.
Right.
In a lot of cases.
It works here.
It works here, and I think the reason it works here is because it's embedded in the comic book as well.
Right.
It is a comedic type of character who does a lot of heroic stuff.
Well, it's kind of like, as we've talked about when we've talked about other comics and other movies, and talking about specific characters and how characters sometimes get changed when they put it into either a movie or they put it into a TV show because they're trying to do this or trying to do that. And you said it ruins the character. If it's not a comedic character and you try to make them funny, you say it degrades the character. It waters it down. It takes away from, because it's not who they are.
Right. Exactly.
Deadpool, and again, since this is my real first exposure to She-Hulk, and then what you kind of explained, the fact that this is kind of how the comic was done, well, it works because that's what you're expecting. If you're familiar with the character, it's what you're expecting. So it's not a what the hell are you doing?
Well, that goes back to when we talk about Deadpool, the fact that they're keeping it rated R. They're going with Deadpool 3 be rated R. If they went with a PG-13 rating with Deadpool, it would be just like,
it neuters the character.
Neuters the character. Kill it. Don't even bother making it because you're destroying it. So and I think Kevin Feige has a lot to do with that. I mean, this guy is the Messiah for Marvel. and I love him for it. That he is with every ounce of his being is trying to keep everything within reason,
Mm-hmm.
as
True
close
to the
as
character,
possible,
yeah.
as true to character as possible. And you have to understand that for a visual media, it doesn't play out like a comic book does. It doesn't translate like a comic book does. So there are certain things that have to be redone or have to be uh, done in a different way, just so it flows.
For pacing.
Yeah, for pacing alone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
You've got 2.5 hours to tell a story that was hashed out over 18 months worth of a comic book.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Todd McFarlane said it when he wrote Spawn. He said it's so hard to fit 5 years of comics into an hour and a half movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie's going to be what it is. I'm going to do the best I can with it to give you the best parts of what I'm going to be able to do. You know what I mean? But and it's the truth though. I look at it like this. It's almost like a comic book to a movie or a television show is much like a human to a dog as far as the lifespan. For every
Mhm.
seven, for every year in a dog, it's 7 human years, in a sense. And that's I look at a movie like a movie's like a dog in a sense where it's going to age much faster. That's why you should only get maybe 3 movies out of it, on a decent storyline,
Mhm.
because that could have like if you did it like a comic, that could have been 7 or 8 movies.
Yeah.
But who the
And
fuck wants
you'd
to
get
stick
bored,
around for that?
and you'd get bored
Right.
with it.
Yeah, who wants to stick around for it? Let's
Yeah.
get to the point. Because it's a visual media. I need to get in and out quickly. That's the whole point of it. You know. But I'm really excited about this thing. I love Hulk. The character itself is great. Um, Granted, he's a little bit on the comedic side of it. I'm not a big fan of Smart Hulk. I am,
Yeah, me either.
and in all honesty, I'm more a fan of the Edward Norton Hulk than I am of the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, where Mark
Really?
Ruffalo's Hulk looks more comic book. He does. He does look more comic book orient, like as far as his structure and all. But I believe Edward Norton's Hulk was such a scary son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that, he was scary.
yeah.
That
And
is
that's
what
the way
rage
that's
is.
the way it should be. It's
Yeah,
there's the hey, I'm the fun-loving Hulk.
yeah.
I'm somebody that's gonna like rip your throat out.
Yeah.
I mean, not to
It's
downplay him either, but like it's like Edward Norton's Hulk was rage, and
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is a tantrum.
yeah.
Right.
That's what it seems like to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just bad.
Yeah.
He stepped on my toe. It's like,
Yeah.
where the
It's
other guy
almost-
wants to rip
it's-
you apart.
It's almost kind of like even when you've talked when we look at other movies where there's an alter ego with a character, it's almost like Mark Ruffalo. I like his Bruce Banner
Yeah,
a lot. So it's like he's a great Bruce Banner, but his Hulk is not as great. Where
Yeah.
Edward Norton is a better Hulk, but not such a great Bruce Banner.
yeah. I mean, I didn't mind him as Bruce Banner. I got the gist out of it. I liked it a lot.
As far if we're gonna start
It's
looking
not
at
the Michael Keaton. He's not the Michael Keaton of Hulk, is what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
we all knew
kind of
that.
like it's a perfect example, the Batman movies.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton was such the perfect blend of
Yes. Of both.
Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
and Batman. I mean, Christian Bale, close second.
Yeah.
I say close second again, just with the way it was
The
written.
movie
as
was written well. You cannot disagree that those movies were written so well.
Yeah.
With the exception of the third one, I wasn't.
Third one, yeah, third one was kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, just overall, I mean, Christian. But others, it was like some of the other characters between Val Kilmer and George Clooney. George Clooney, I think, just was kind of overall.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the guys, and it's like some of them have been. It's like, oh, as Batman,
Well, I
you
looked
kind of
at
really liked him as Batman, but you look at him and go like, okay, but I don't buy you as Bruce Wayne.
I
Or
looked
buy
at
you as
Val,
Bruce Wayne, but
Kil-
not
I
as
looked at
Batman.
Val Kilmer's. I looked at Batman Forever with Val Kilmer as a reboot more so than a sequel.
Yeah,
Because if you look at it as a reboot, then you're not
Mhm.
comparing it to Tim Burton in a
Yeah.
sense. But getting back onto She-Hulk,
but She-Hulk,
because we jumped to complete universes
exactly.
in a second. But it's only a half hour, So there's not a lot in the episode. We get her introduction. We get her interaction with Bruce. We get how she's going to be. Now, here's the funny thing about She-Hulk, because she gets a lot more confidence, and it's funny how people will negate the fact that she's 7 feet tall, and it will negate the fact that she's green, but they're like, "Wow, you got a great ass." Like, shit, you got a great body, and we see trailers where she picks up some dude in a bar and like goes like ape shit on the dude. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, you know what? In a comic book setting, I would totally go for it myself. Totally, I'm like Indiana Jones with that shit. But like, I just think it's going to be a real fun character. In comparison to Ms. Marvel, which I'm not a fan of the character at all. And we'll talk about it on another show, but like the actress that played Kamala Khan in Ms. Marvel is so charming. Like, if I was a young kid, I'd be all about trying to date that girl because she's so charming. But the character I never liked from the comic book, and I don't like it on video either. They did great production value with that show, but I did not like the show. Okay, I watched it because I had to watch it because it leads into other stuff, but I was not a fan of the show just simply because I'm not into the character. She-Hulk, I jump into it, and not for nothing too. Let's go back right before Kamala Khan. We have Moon Knight, which I did not like Moon Knight at all. I was completely let down by Moon Knight. Although great storyline, I said it in many shows. I thought what we saw would have been a great season 2, but not a good season 1 because we didn't get a lot of Moon Knight in it. So this is like another TV series where I was like, I hope they hit it out at the park the first time, because they killed it with the first one, which I really would have been into, and I'll give them props for what they did with the show I did not like. You know what I mean? So now this is the third time up. What are you going to do for me? And I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. I like the character. She's involved in, and here's a cool thing too. You got to understand, Matt, you'll now grasp this. She's a character that's tied into the Fantastic Four,
Okay.
which will be coming up in like in stage 5. So she's coming in at a great time, and I think that's obviously strategic, of course.
Yeah.
But she's someone that's involved with Black Panther, involved with the Fantastic Four. She fights Doctor Doom, who's another big baddie that's coming into the MCU. So this is like setting up, once again, more heroes that I'm going to want to see in some kind of collaborative movie, which we're going to get the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars both in the same year, tentatively, right, as of right now. So that's going to be your big year-ending event, for those phases of MCU when we get to Secret Wars, and she's going to play a big part in it. You're going to see a full circle where she's going to embrace being a hero, and she's going to hopefully do the best of both worlds. But let's get into the fact that, and it's not in the first episode yet, but other characters are coming in. Daredevil is coming in. Blonsky, who is the Abomination, he's going to be in there. He's going to be a big part of this season.
Yeah, I can't wait for those.
And these are fan favorite characters from other shows, and I think that's a great thing too. And it's going to be a great bridge for the Netflix stuff going into that. So, what do you guys think?
Well, I say, we were talking Thursday night, about doing this, and literally, wife and I was like, "Come on, let's go watch it." And we really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and again, and I said, especially with me being somebody who wasn't involved with it, so it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to this." So it's like, "Oh yeah," and also too, it's not like I didn't really have any expectations going into it.
Yes.
So I was watching it with some fresh eyes, and I'm like,
That's
was
good
entertaining.
Too. That's very good.
This was entertaining, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward now to learning more about this character and seeing again, because as we talked on other episodes, I wasn't real big into comic books as a kid, but it's like, it's like they're writing it in a way that It's going to be great for people who are already fans,
Right.
but also drawing in new fans who have been brought in through the rest of the MCU.
Now, while Jason fixes his technical difficulties, which I'm
Difficulties.
assuming is his Wi-Fi cut, but what did your wife think? Because your wife is not a
Yeah, she's
comic
not
book
like a
person at
big
all.
comic book, you know. I mean, there are certain ones she likes, and others, you know. Again, she's kind of like me. She doesn't enjoy them as much as I do, but there are certain ones that she definitely watches a lot.
Now, with that
But
being said,
she
though,
enjoyed it.
she's
She thought it was good.
even less than you,
Yeah,
and she really enjoyed it. And see, that's the
Yeah.
thing too, that it's able to translate to people that are non-comic book people, and I think that's a big thing as well. You know, with that, you know, when you're going down that route, and it's like, you know, you can be your hardcore fan base, but I'm one person that says I can't stand comic book fans because of the fact that they, instead of enjoying what they're getting,
Mhm.
they're ingrates. And like, oh,
they
you couldn't do this
nitpick. Well, they
wrong."
didn't do this. They didn't do this. They didn't do this.
Right.
And they're not in. And unfortunately, there are other communities that do that as well, not just comic book fans.
Yeah, it's
unfortunately.
true.
But
It's
but
across the
it's
board,
like
yeah.
it's one of those things where instead of sitting there saying like, okay, well, they're not just catering to me, they're giving me stuff that
Right.
I recognize and I can enjoy if I just let myself enjoy it.
Right.
But it's also bringing in new fans that you can sit there and be all like, hey man, welcome to what we already knew.
Right.
You know, to quote, you know, Bruce Willis in Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, kinda
exactly.
like, you know,
Exactly.
and it's just like, oh wow, you know, I've got these new people who are coming into it, and I can then even educate, you know, these other people who are coming in, and I can share my knowledge and say, oh man, well, if you really like that, wait till you see this, or wait to check out
Yeah.
this character. And if
Yeah.
you thought that was cool, there's other characters going to come in, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but stick with it because there's going to be a character coming in that's going to blow your mind. What, you know what I mean? They don't
Well, I
want to
loved
share
it.
the love.
Right. And I love the parody that they're doing, and they're not taking itself seriously, which is great. It's making fun of those lawyer dramas, which is really fun
Yeah.
too. And you're going to
Yeah.
get those, and for people like your wife and you, for an example, are going to get that tongue-in-cheek type of thing, like, oh, I see what they're doing there, Law and Order. Oh, okay, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's a superhero, and then you get to laugh at the absurdity of the 7-foot green chick defending somebody in court, and
Yeah.
what kind of nuances are going to happen
Yeah.
with her transforming, and how she's going to
Yeah.
be perceived, etc. Stuff like that.
And it's happening in a
yeah.
world where all these other characters have already exist. So it's not like, you know, people aren't, where it's like suddenly, you know, she turns into this green, you know, this Hulk in the middle of the courtroom, and people go like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm like, oh, there's another one.
That,
There's
yeah.
a girl Hulk.
Jeez.
There's
Oh,
a
my
She-Hulk.
goodness.
You know, it's
Oh, my
like,
goodness.
huh,
But
okay.
I never was a fan of the name. You know, you got to
Yeah.
think about when she was created, you know, in the
Yeah.
comic books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm loving the series. It comes out every Thursday on the Disney Plus thing. I think what we'll try and do here is, and I usually don't do this, but let's try and do this. We're going to try and keep up with each episode. We'll do maybe once a week. We'll get these out, and we'll see you for episode 2 coming up. I know Jason just hit me up and he said his power died where he was at, so that's why he dropped off. So he apologizes to everybody, but
it's a shame because I
wanted to get his take on it too, because he's a big fan of it in a sense. But what we'll do is just hit that notification bell down below, hit the subscribe button, share the channel to your friends, make sure you can tell everybody, say, hey everybody, check this show out, check out the other shows on the channel as
and
well.
please comment.
Stuff. Yeah, please comment.
What
was your favorite part of it?
That helps us out a lot.
Yeah. Like, what was your favorite? What was your favorite part of it? That type of thing, you know. So for Matt Sunner, for Jason Leach, my name is Danny J. Until next time, keep your cape in the wind and your eyes to the stars. Have a great day, everybody.